There is a silent enemy that lives inside millions of people. It does not shout, it does not break down doors, it does not threaten like a visible monster. It whispers. It whispers in the quiet spaces of your mind, right before you try something new, right after you make a mistake, when you stand on the edge of growth or transformation. A soft, poisonous sentence slips through your inner world. You can't. You're not good enough. You will fail like before. And without realizing it, many people obey those whispers as if they were truth. They step back from opportunities not because the world told them no, but because their own inner voice did. Bandura, one of the most influential psychologists in modern history, spent decades studying this phenomenon. He observed athletes, students, professionals, people who succeeded and people who collapsed under pressure. His discovery was revolutionary. The greatest limiter of human potential is not talent, resources, or intelligence. It is the belief that we are incapable. He called this force self-efficacy, the deep internal sense that I can or I cannot, and his work exposed how these beliefs quietly shape the course of a lifetime. He showed that the voice inside your mind is not just commentary, it is architecture. It builds the walls of what you attempt, what you avoid, how long you persist, and how deeply you trust yourself to succeed. Most people think failure happens outside of them. They blame circumstance, competition, market, luck, timing. But Bandura demonstrated something far more disturbing. People often fail before they begin. They self-reject before the world ever gets a chance to challenge them. They decide the outcome in their minds and then live out the prophecy physically, emotionally, behaviorally, biologically. A person who believes they will fail approaches life differently than a person who believes they can learn to succeed. Two individuals with equal skill stand in front of the same opportunity. One thrives, the other collapses. The world did not change. Only their belief did. Negative self-talk is not harmless. It is not modesty. It is not realism. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. When your inner voice repeats failure long enough, you stop trying. When you stop trying, you never improve. When you never improve, you confirm the lie you believed. And so, year by year, a person's potential remains locked beneath rubble of self-doubt, untested and unseen by the world, not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked permission to use it. What makes this even more tragic is that most people never recognize the prison they live in. They simply assume this inner voice is them. They think, I am insecure. I am incapable. I am weak. But Bandura revealed that voice is not your identity, it is your conditioning. It was built from old criticism, painful memory comparison, failure, parents, teachers, early environments, where love felt conditional and mistakes felt dangerous. You were not born doubting yourself. You learned to. And if you learn to doubt your power, you can learn to reclaim it. When you hear your inner voice say, I can't, you must understand, this is not truth. This is programming. Something you inherited, absorbed, repeated until it seemed like reality. Your body reacts because it believes the thought is real. Your mind shuts down because it thinks withdrawal equals safety. In truth, this voice is a leftover defense mechanism from a time you felt small and unprotected. It tries to protect you by limiting you. It fears failure, but in doing so, it prevents success. The most painful part of this dynamic is invisible. People do not only mourn dreams that died, they mourn the version of themselves that never got to live. The potential that remained unexpressed. The book never written. The skill never practiced. The career never attempted. The love never confessed. A life half-lived, not because fate was cruel, but because self-belief was weak. People grieve for the person they could have been, but never allowed themselves to become. Imagine how much talent lies buried beneath doubt. Imagine how many inventions, songs, businesses, masterpieces, breakthroughs humanity never received because someone told themselves, "I can't." Imagine how many people sit at home believing they are ordinary simply because they never tested their capacity. The tragedy of self-doubt is not that it makes life painful, it makes life smaller. Bandura's work illuminated something rare: potential is not fixed. Talent grows when belief grows. A person with moderate skill but high self-efficacy can surpass a prodigy crippled by self-doubt. The question is never, "Are you good enough now?" The question is, will you allow yourself to become better? And so the journey begins here, noticing your inner voice, not as truth, but as story. Not as destiny, but as habit. If you can observe the voice instead of obey it, you open a door. You create distance between thought and identity. You learn that the narrator is not the author. You are the author. You can rewrite. Many people listening to this have lived their entire lives feeling smaller than they are. You may have played safe, stayed where approval was guaranteed, chosen comfort over growth, predictability over courage. Not because you wanted a small life, but because you didn't believe you were allowed a bigger one. But today, as you hear these words, something inside you shifts. The ground beneath your self-doubt cracks. You begin to wonder, what if I've been wrong about myself? What if what I fear is not my weakness, but my power? What if I have more inside me than I've allowed myself to see? The voice in your head may whisper back, "No, you don't. Stay where you are. It's safer here." But you are beginning to recognize its tone. You are beginning to see its pattern. You are beginning to sense that you are not hearing truth, you are hearing memory. And memories do not get to decide your future unless you allow them to. You stand now at the threshold of possibility. And the question is simple. Will you let the old voice lead you back into the cage, or will you step forward into the unknown and meet the person you could have been? The human body responds to thoughts as if they were physical events. When someone tells themselves, "I can't do this," the nervous system does not analyze logic. It reacts. Heart rate rises, muscles tighten, cortisol floods the bloodstream. The body prepares for survival, not growth. The mind, expecting failure, shifts into protection rather than performance. And so biologically, psychologically, behaviorally, emotionally, a person collapses at the very moment they most need strength. This is not weakness. This is conditioning. Bandura found that negative self-talk triggers stress responses identical to facing real danger. The body does not distinguish between a lion chasing you and a presentation at work. It hears threat. It responds with fear. It withdraws resources from creativity, focus, memory, problem solving, and channels them into survival. Your mind goes blank, not because you're dumb, but because you're scared. Your hands tremble, not because you're incapable, but because your nervous system thinks you are under attack. A person standing in front of a crowd may look calm on the outside, while inside a biological war is happening. The tragedy is that most people interpret this reaction incorrectly. They say, "See, my body proves I can't." In truth, their body is only proving how powerful thought is. The body is not failing, the belief is. Self-doubt does not stop at the mind. It sinks into muscle, breath, posture, reaction speed. Athletes forget movements they have practiced for years simply because the voice inside whispered, "You're not ready." A student who believes they are bad at math will freeze not because they are incapable, but because they expect themselves to be. A musician who doubts their skill will shake on stage not because they lack talent, but because the nervous system has been trained to fear judgment more than it desires expression. The prophecy fulfills itself, not because it was true, because it was believed. Negative thought becomes a cage, and the body becomes the prisoner. But if belief has the power to weaken the body, belief also has the power to strengthen it. If the mind can collapse under "I can't," it can also expand under "I'm capable." If the nervous system responds to fear with shutdown, it can respond to confidence with flow. Bandura understood this deeply. He showed that competence grows when belief grows. Strength multiplies when self-trust multiplies. The nervous system changes when the narrative changes. The inner transformation begins not with perfection but with awareness. To break the cycle of self-sabotage, one must first see it. To see it, one must slow down enough to notice the voice. Most people never do. They live on autopilot, following thoughts like orders. They think if a thought appears, it must be true. But thoughts are not truth, they are habits. They are echoes of old experiences. They are voices from the past speaking into the present as if nothing has changed. You are not who you were when those thoughts were formed. You are older now, stronger, more aware, yet you may still be living inside assumptions built in childhood. You may still obey fears shaped by a younger version of yourself who did not have the strength you have today. You may still treat insecurity like fact simply because it arrived early in your life. Self-doubt is not evidence of incapacity, it is evidence of history. Every time you hear, "I can't," ask yourself, whose voice is this? Where did I learn it? Who taught me to doubt myself? What happened in my past that convinced me my power was dangerous? Behind every limiting belief, there is a story. A moment you were shamed. A teacher who made you feel slow. A parent who said, "Don't dream too big." A failure that hurt more than you could process at the time. And so the brain created a rule: don't try again, it's safer not to. This rule kept you safe once. It wounds you now. The fascinating thing Bandura revealed is that self-efficacy is not built by removing fear, it is built by moving through fear. Confidence does not come first. Action comes first, confidence follows. People wait to feel ready before they start, not realizing readiness is created by starting. A person learns to speak by speaking, learns to lead by leading, learns to succeed by failing forward enough times to stop fearing failure. Growth requires exposure. Exposure requires courage. Courage requires a single moment when you choose action over avoidance. Imagine your life as a map. Every time you avoid something because of fear, the map shrinks. Every time you face something despite fear, the map expands. One day you wake up and realize your world is small, not because the world is small, but because fear drew your borders. Every time you step into discomfort, the borders move. The territory of your life grows. You become more capable not because life became easier, but because you became braver. Self-efficacy is built in the moments you wanted to run, but walked forward instead. It grows when you speak, even though your voice trembles. When you try, even though failure is possible. When you ask, even when rejection could sting. When you keep going, even when progress is slow. One success is a seed. 100 successes become a forest. But the first success is the hardest, because doubt sits heavy like stone. You are not fighting the task, you are fighting the story you are told about yourself. To change your life, you must change your story. Not by force, not by pretending fear doesn't exist, but by choosing a different narrator. When the voice says, "I can't answer," I'm learning. When it says, "I will fail," answer. Failure is a teacher, not a verdict. When it says, "I'm not ready," answer. Readiness grows in action, not in thought. Fear is loud at the beginning and quiet at the end. Doubt screams before you take the first step and whispers, once you take the second. The voice loses power, not when you silence it, but when you stop obeying it. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is movement alongside fear. You will not wake up confident one morning without effort. You will not feel powerful before you act. You will not discover your ability while standing still. You must move first. You must open the door of possibility. You must take one step into the unknown and trust that your strength will meet you there. Your potential is waiting not ahead of you, but inside you. You have been carrying it for years. You may have felt it in quiet moments, in dreams. You never spoke in ideas that excited you then frightened you, in the version of yourself you sometimes glimpse, but quickly dismiss. That version is real. It is not fantasy, it is memory of the future. A whisper of who you could be if you stopped repeating who you were. One small step toward belief can begin the transformation of a life. Many people believe their life is shaped by external events, opportunity, circumstance, talent, timing. Bandura's research suggests something more powerful. Life is shaped by internal permission. You do not act according to your potential. You act according to what you believe your potential is. You do not avoid challenges because they are too big. You avoid them because you believe you are too small. You do not remain stuck because the world has trapped you, but because your mind has convinced you that escape is impossible. The greatest prison a person can live in is the belief that they are not enough. And the cruelest part is that the door is unlocked. The cage is imaginary. The bars are made of thoughts. Life divides into two paths. The moment you ask yourself, "Can I?" If the answer is maybe, you step forward. If the answer is no, you step back. And yet, both answers arise not from destiny, but from narrative. The way you speak to yourself becomes the architect of your future. People often underestimate small victories. They overlook the tiny moments where they acted despite fear, where they tried something new, where they persisted longer than usual. These moments matter more than triumphs. A champion is built in private long before they are celebrated in public. Confidence grows like a muscle, not overnight, but through repeated strain, recovery, challenge, and expansion. Bandura encouraged something often neglected in self-development: acknowledgement of progress. Celebrate small actions. Notice micro-courage. If you spoke when you normally stay silent, progress. If you studied when you were tired, progress. If you did not give up when you wanted to progress. These moments are proof that you are not static. You are evolving, even if slowly. You are not who you were last year. Not who you were 5 years ago. The voice inside you may still sound the same, but you are not. The internal critic does not retire naturally. It must be confronted. It must be questioned. When it says you always fail, ask, is that true, or is that trauma speaking? When it says people will judge you, ask, and what if they do? Will I die? Or will I grow? When it says others are better, ask, better at what? At being themselves, at living their story. What does that have to do with mine? A mind unchallenged becomes a tyrant, but a mind questioned becomes a guide. You are not here to live according to the expectations of fear. You are here to discover your capacity. Consider this: what if everything you want exists on the other side of one uncomfortable action? What if your new life begins, not when fear disappears, but when you walk into it willingly? What if your most extraordinary self is waiting, like a seed beneath the soil of doubt, needing only the water of belief to grow? You may not have evidence yet that you are capable, but belief is not built from evidence. Evidence is built from belief. No one begins confident. They begin uncertain. No one begins extraordinary. They begin ordinary. Greatness is what happens when ordinary persists long enough to transform. Think about every person you admire: athletes, artists, inventors, leaders. They were not born fearless. They learned to negotiate with fear. They did not wait for the perfect moment. They created it through action. They did not avoid failure. They harvested wisdom from it. They were not gifted magical power. They trained their minds to trust their effort more than their insecurity. You can do the same. The difference between you and the person you dream of being is not talent. It is permission. Give yourself permission to dream wildly, permission to try imperfectly, permission to fail forward, permission to redefine yourself as many times as needed. You are under no obligation to remain the person you were when you first learned to doubt your worth. The past is not a prophecy. It is a lesson. You may think weakness defines you. It doesn't. It only reveals where strength has not yet been built. You may think fear defines you. It doesn't. It only shows where courage is required. You may think failure defines you. It doesn't. It only points to where growth awaits. The real question is not, can you succeed? The real question is, will you allow yourself the chance to? You deserve to see how powerful you become when you stop obeying the voice that shrinks you. You deserve to experience the world through the eyes of someone who believes. You deserve to meet the version of yourself that has always been waiting behind self-doubt, like sunlight behind cloud. One day, you may look back and wonder how much life was missed because you underestimated yourself. But today does not have to repeat yesterday. Today can be the first page of a different story. A story where you are no longer background character in your own existence, but author, explorer, creator, architect. The question that changes everything is simple. If I believed I could, what would I do next? Answer it not in thought, but in action. Take a step, even a small one. You do not need to run. You only need to move. The voice inside your mind is not you. It uses your language. It knows your fears, but it is a composite of old pain, inherited insecurity, learned limitation. It was formed when you were too young to defend yourself. Teachers, parents, rejection, humiliation, each left fingerprints on your identity. Over time, you began to speak to yourself the way the world once spoke to you. But you are not obligated to keep that voice in power. The voice says, you're not ready. You can answer, readiness grows through action. The voice says you will fail. You can answer, failure is a step, not a tombstone. The voice says you are not enough. You can answer, I am becoming more every day. The goal is not to silence the voice entirely. That would be unrealistic. The goal is to transform its authority. The voice becomes background noise, like distant traffic, not irrelevant, but no longer your decision maker. You can hear doubt without obeying it. You are not a problem to fix. You are potential to unfold. Bandura showed that identity is fluid, not static. You are not stuck in the person you were last year, last month, last mistake. Self-efficacy grows like dawn, slowly, then all at once. Light enters through small cracks in doubt. A decision you would normally avoid becomes a decision you face. A fear you ran from becomes a fear you stand beside. Then something shifts. The voice that once controlled you becomes a whisper. You no longer ask, can I? You begin to ask, how will I? Imagine waking up one day, realizing you no longer negotiate your worth with insecurity. Your decisions are built from desire, not fear. You attempt things that once terrified you. You speak with honesty instead of apology. You try without guaranteeing success. Not because you feel invincible, but because failure is no longer fatal. You trust yourself enough to try again. The most powerful freedom is the freedom to attempt. And the most powerful transformation comes when you realize you do not need to eliminate fear, you only need to move anyway. You do not need to be certain, you only need to be willing. You do not need perfection, you need participation in your own life. You may not control the world, but you control the narrator inside your mind. When you change the narrator, you change the story. When you change the story, you change the ending. You can rewrite the script, not with manifestation slogans, but with lived courage. Not with fantasies of success, but with effort that compounds over time. The person you want to be is not somewhere far away, it is the result of repeated action. Self-efficacy is built with every moment you choose growth over comfort. So ask yourself gently and honestly, what dream did I abandon because I thought I wasn't enough? What talent did I hide because I feared judgment? What version of me have I never allowed to breathe? The answer to these questions is not meant to shame you. It is meant to awaken you. There is so much more inside you, more creativity, more resilience, more intelligence, more ambition, more courage than you have allowed yourself to admit. You are not at the limit of your ability. You are at the limit of your belief. And belief can be expanded. You can become someone future you would thank, someone past you would admire, someone present you has never met. Every day you have the chance to choose that direction. Every morning, a blank page. Every moment, an invitation. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly on time for transformation. Your inner critic may speak again tomorrow. It may say, "You're unprepared," but you will recognize its tone. You will not shrink so easily. You will move anyway. The voice may follow you, but it will no longer lead. Because now you know the truth. You are not your doubt. You are not your fear. You are not your past. You are possibility. And possibility expands when you step into it. If part of you is trembling as you hear this, good. Trembling means you're near the edge of who you used to be. Growth begins where comfort ends. And courage begins where certainty fades. Take one action today, however small, that honors your potential instead of your fear. Send the message. Start the project. Learn the skill. Speak the truth. Try. Not flawlessly, not perfectly, just truly. You owe it to yourself to meet the version of you that lives on the other side of doubt. You are capable of more than you know, and your life will begin to prove it the moment you give yourself permission.